I was so honored to bring this group of artists together to explore the relationship between the human condition and the fate of the environment. I grew up in a family that held a particular reverence for nature, and that was impressed on me from an early age. It's also just an integral part to life in the Catskills. So while there was a timeline in terms of my planning for the show, the inspiration was sort of always there. The formal beginnings of Plant Matter was inspired by several local artists I'd met whose focus was on plant material and nature. Spring arrived in the Catskills, so we were reveling in the new growth. At the same time, climate change weighed heavy on my mind. I come from a heavy research background, and so in a slower period, I was researching artists who have shown work in the larger New York area. As I did this, I found non-local artists who I thought would really complete the show, and so it came to life. Of the 20 artists in the show, about half are local artists and half are artists from the larger East Coast area. I thought this helped balance honoring our local artists and their experience in the Catskills, while also bringing in new names and outside perspectives. I like to think inter-area shows like this foster new relationships within the larger art community, which is especially relevant to Plant Matter when concern about climate change can make us feel very small and alone. I'm overjoyed to have been able to bring this amazing group of passionate artists together, and I hope Plant Matter shows how we can bring a new awareness to the issue of climate change through the lens of art. A big thank you to all the participating artists and all visitors to this video from the Roxbury Arts Group and from me.
I make oil paintings that are grounded in a romantic, even Gothic sensibility. I've always been attracted to the beautiful and unsettling, and I notice these qualities often occur together. Common vegetation I see while in the woods or in my yard inspires me by how they can suggest human gesture and anatomy. The painting in the show depicts an invasive plant, the common wineberry. Most people notice this plant as arching bright red canes in the winter, or perhaps in the summer they pick the red berries, sometimes mistakenly called wild raspberries. However, my painting depicts the plant in early winter after killing frost. The leaves have turned almost black and curled inside out, revealing what I think of as a white, veiny underbelly. I was intrigued by the nuances of color within the white and the almost tortured gesture of the curled leaves, and of course the hairy, dark red canes of the plant. I thought of skin and blood and bones. The value judgment I place on a chosen plant subject is aesthetic. I'm not caring if the plant itself is good or bad, just visually compelling. However, I understand each plant plays a role in the biodiversity of its ecosystem, just as humans do, and that role can either hurt or help. I hope to complicate our understanding of plants and nature more broadly by literally recognizing ourselves within them.
Thank you, Ursula, for inviting me to be a part of this really interesting show. I am so honored to be included. A central theme in my work is the exploration of the ephemeral in nature, focusing on weeds, waste plants, and other plants generally considered to be undesirable, to highlight their beauty as we navigate the disrupted landscape that we find ourselves in today. I find my subjects sprouting through cracks in the sidewalks and in the margins of public spaces and forest borders on hikes and walks. While technical precision is important to me, the drawings are not based on scientific illustration, an important distinction for me. The plants are imagined with a primary focus on compositional tension and negative space. My process involves a lot of looking and documentation while walking. This has also inspired my work in homemade black walnut ink. Collecting the material on walks and making the ink have become integral to my drawing process in this series. The plants that I draw and paint are ones I've found outside, not ornamental garden flowers, but weeds and wildflowers that pop up unexpectedly in the margins of urban areas and along the trails and forests that I explore.
I started working with black squares combined with dried leaves in 2020. I'd read an article in which the Russian artist Kazimir Malevich was quoted as saying, "I took refuge in the form of the square." At the time, I needed a refuge from my feelings of doom about climate change and the state of the world during COVID. The black square became for me both a refuge and a symbol of gloom. In Black Square's Flight, the Japanese maple leaves are outlined on the black square, referencing absence or death. The leaf fragments fly free with a note of optimism. I'm pleased that this piece is hung next to Margot's wild geranium. There is a nice rhythm of dark and light work along this wall. My later collage, Black Square Scream, more directly addresses climate change. Here, a maple leaf is stuck on a black square with radiating white lines, sending distress signals like a scream for help. I love the way Ursula hung this small collage on the wall in the middle of much larger black and white work. The red leaf manages to hold your focus. The title of this exhibition, Plant Matter, is an apt description of the botanically based art in the show, but it is also a message that plants do matter.
Hey everybody, my name is Amy Wilson, and I have done 2 of the pieces that are in the Plant Matter show. Both of my pieces incorporate text from anarchist sources, and they're about removing hierarchies between human beings and nature, whether it's plants or animals or really kind of any form of life. This is something that, when I think about it kind of practically is probably not possible, but I think it's an interesting, thought experiment, basically. And so I've been using a lot of this text in my work throughout. So the piece that starts out beneath the city sidewalks is a reworking of a slogan that was graffitied in Paris in the 1960s during some uprisings that were happening there. And then the other one is a zine or a reworking of a quote from a zine, an anarchist zine that I once came across that was, contemporary time. So yeah, so hopefully these give you a little bit of context into what I'm trying to do here. And thanks for looking. Thanks for listening. Bye.
In my piece Compost Radio, worms are the primary sounds you hear in my recordings of a compost pile. They play a critical role in the decomposition process. As they feed on decomposing organic matter, they break it down into smaller particles, which increases the surface area available for microbial action. This process not only accelerates decomposition, but also improves soil structure and fertility. The sound of worms at work can be seen as a celebration of their indispensable role in sustaining ecosystems. In Japanese culture, the process of decomposition, or shiki, the seasons, is often associated with beauty and transformation. This aligns with the concept of mono no aware, the appreciation of the transient nature of things. My work embodies this aesthetic by showcasing decomposition as a natural and beautiful process, inviting listeners to find beauty in the seemingly mundane and transient aspects of life. By playing the sounds of worms through a vintage radio, I'm trying to create an interplay between the organic process of decomposition and the historical artifact of the radio. This choice enriches the thematic exploration of plant matter and disintegration by highlighting contrasts and connections between natural and technological decay, historical and present-day processes, and the organic and mechanical worlds. The vintage radio thus becomes a powerful symbol for the transformation and continuity inherent in both natural and human-made systems.